What if I told you that Bitcoin is about to initiate a mega giga dump and it's just getting started? Would it make you willy scared and full of fear? Or would you use it to gobble up more crypto than you could ever imagine? Over the last week, Bitcoin has been sandwiched between 50 and 53,000 US dollars. And many metrics are right now showing that Bitcoin is a little overheated. But what if I told you there's something way bigger actually happening right now on the Bitcoin chart? And what if I also told you it's going to be much absolutely nuttier than anyone could ever imagine? So if you're quite literally ready and willing to get dumped on at any moment, hit that like, hit the subscribe, get signed up to Femex below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. Without any further ado, let's absolutely completely jump into this video where we look at Bitcoin right now sitting, as you can see, for the past week since the 14th, so literally exactly a week, we've been trading right around 51,000, a little below some days, a little above some days. But you can see two pretty big rejections right off of exactly 53,000 US dollars. And right now, my timeline is just as bearish as it was when Bitcoin was like 20,000 US dollars. Now, that begs the question, why are people so fearful right now? Why are people so bearish? Well, if we look at the daily chart and actually zoom out of this, I mean, you have to zoom out pretty far because we've been on a very obvious, only one kind of trend for the past 15 months, straight up. This has people a little fearful that we've gone up so much. And you can see, for example, if we look on the daily chart for Bitcoin, look at the MACD right here. Over the last couple of days, really since we topped at the February 14th, in terms of maximum explosiveness, we're seeing MACD kind of swing down a little bit. We're seeing, maybe we'll get a bearish cross on the daily MACD soon. Also, some things we're going to look at on the weekly chart. But ultimately, people are expecting that we're about to see a massive crash, and that's what everyone's afraid of. And we're going to be talking about exactly that for most of this video. Is it realistic? If it does happen, what price to look at? But most importantly, is it the beginning of a trend change? Or in fact, is it not? That's the big question. So one of the first things I want to look at here is that the Bitcoin Crosby ratio as a volatility-based metric has been very effective at identifying when Bitcoin needs to cool down. And right now, it's back in the overbought territory. If we zoom in and look into Bitcoin chart, you can see the last time we were here was back towards the end of 2023. We also saw it back at the very beginning of 2023, January and also April of 2023. This was the low, keep in mind, when when it dips to the opposite side and the oversold. And we're now kind of inching and squinching into overbought. Now, that doesn't mean we have to get a dump immediately, considering you can see on this chart where we also went a little bit higher multiple times on the exact same indicator. But I'm going to show you a few other things as well. So if we look, Mags Scalping Pro pointing out, maybe we're forming a massive inverse head and shoulders, whereas the you can see the first being back here, or the lows around 30, and then also the very bear market low around 15K in early 2023, late 2022. And if we have a pullback or another rally, this is a very speculative pattern. However, it's basically the same kind of idea, which is that we're entering into a new bull market, and this pattern is just one way of maybe identifying that, or one of the structures that might be in play for that. For example, we all know like the 2.5 year long falling wedge that most people have been following since the bear market, and we've been breaking out of it. That's what this entire bust off is here. But basically what this requires is another downside move. Now, I think that one of the reasons people are so fearful right now is because we've gotten so much pumping in the last 15 months, basically only pumps and sideways, no real sustained dumps, no lower lows whatsoever, right? Zero lower lows. It's been like higher lows only and higher highs because, it's just been bullish constructive price action. But I think people are fearful because they forgot that maybe we need dumps, or more so, maybe people are just fearful because we haven't gotten a very big dump in so long that they maybe think, well, this one has to be very big. And so here, we look here, Bitcoin is closer to its prior all-time halving, pre-halving, than has ever happened before, and it's not even close. It's kind of completely unprecedented. If we actually look at this chart, when we were at this distance basically from the halving, or a couple months before the halving back in 2012, we were 64% from the all-time highs. Back here in 2016, we were like 68%, 70% here at the high back in like 2019, going into the 2020 bull run. And here we are only 29%. That's pretty insane, right? That metric alone is insane if we just ignore basically everything else. Why is that the case? Why is it the case that Bitcoin historically has been 60+% from its all-time highs in previous pre-halving pumps, but now we're like way closer? Okay, it's pretty nuts. What is the reason? Is it fundamentally because maybe the Bitcoin spot ETFs are just pumping Bitcoin up? Which, if the answer to that is yes, you have to wonder if these ETFs will just make it so much harder for Bitcoin to have really big dumps. Because that's the answer that's a question we have not had answered yet. And I'm very interested in finding out. We do not know yet. And we could find out by tomorrow. Let's say tomorrow we crash to like 40,000 US dollars. Then our question would be answered, right? We'd be like, okay, well, we'll still get these massive flash crashes. I guess the Bitcoin ETF doesn't change that dynamic at all. But we haven't seen that yet. So I'm very curious to see if that I guess, hypothesis, if that possibility is realistic. Now, before we continue even with all of this stuff, Bitcoin's price is literally still above 50,000. Now, for the past week, I've been talking about two pullback areas. The first one being, maybe 47, so not much lower than we currently are, but a massive area of support is around 44 to 45,000. And so both of those would require that we go below 50K. Both of those pullback targets are things that I think would be bullish retests, because we haven't had a retest in so long. Keep that in mind. Even in bull markets, usually we get more retests. But, that's when I start looking at this chart and getting interested. And that is where it becomes okay to say, wow, maybe this is going to take a bearish turn of events, right? But we have so many, it's blowing my mind, honestly. It just blows my mind that I think there's just so many people that do not have control over their emotion, where their emotions dictate how they invest, how they trade, how they decide to do anything in this market. And it's such a horrible, anyone will tell you, anyone with experience will tell you, if you use your emotion to try to navigate a market, it's not good. And I think that the fact that Bitcoin is down like $1,500 right now, you can see the chart on the screen, from just going straight up for the past 15 months, and Bitcoin's down $1,500, a massive couple of percent, and people are getting so scared. My timeline is still full of people that are bearish. You can see it. Like if I post a bearish or a bullish tweet right now, there's way more people in the comments that are just so scared out of nowhere. And it's just blowing my mind. Can there be this many people that are completely controlled by their emotion and don't actually don't learn? Because if you learn from anyone that's been in these markets, they'll tell you don't trade based on emotion. If you have a thesis or whatever, stick to it. But then the second Bitcoin drops the smallest amount, people start losing their minds and thinking, we're going to start crashing. Everything's going back down to 10K. It's just, man, it's no wonder people don't really succeed in these markets. If that's the kind of mindset you have, then you never will. It just blows my mind. And one other thing, this is turning into a little bit of a rant, but one other thing is, if that's how you trade, if that's how you invest, is using your emotions, that's also indicative of the rest of your life. Where if you get overly emotional and don't have good control of your emotions in trading, you probably don't have good control of your emotions in your everyday life or in general. So it's a trait that if you learn and if you get better at, it'll benefit you not just in crypto, not just investing. It'll benefit you in every aspect of your life. So I urge you watching this video, please, if you have an emotion where you may be a little scared, try to be bigger than the emotion and try to tackle it. Just try to, man, it's just crazy seeing that. It's so oh man, I just don't know how to explain how crazy it is that exists. But if we look here, all eyes are on the $53,000 mark for Bitcoin. Roughly $1 billion worth of liquidations sit above us. We tapped it yesterday and went straight down. It's extremely constructive that we continue to stay above 50 to 52,000 and then blast those shorts. So we're not there quite yet. However, this is a very good sign here. And if we blast through that $53,000 mark, short squeeze most likely incoming big time. We're also seeing Genesis selling $1 billion worth of Bitcoin this month, and nobody seems to really care, because basically this space is much more bullish than people realize, right? There's liquidity. And this is crazy. This is retail and Coinbase, and you can see Coinbase's total volume. We're not really seeing anything in comparison to what we saw in the tops. Retail is largely not back. Now, a lot of people have been leaving comments like, "Oh, aren't the people that are investing in the ETFs also retail?" Well, some of them, right? Some people are buying ETFs and also trading on Coinbase. But like, for example, if Jeff Bezos decided to create a Coinbase account and deposit $500,000. He would be considered retail, even though it's Jeff Bezos, right? So he's worth like billions of dollars. So it is kind of nuanced, but basically retail trading has not returned. It's the easiest way without getting into too much detail. But almost 3,000 Bitcoin taken off by the market every single day, just with the ETFs. And with 900 Bitcoin being mined every day, going down to 450 in just 54 days. This is the absolute opposite of super bearish, okay? And I wish people, I think what's happening right now is like one final trap, the beginning of one final trap before we enter a parabolic bull market. And unfortunately, based on what I'm seeing in some of the comments and some of the replies, some of you guys are not going to make it. I'm seeing so many people that are letting their emotions dictate them. And I saw it back in 2019 and 2020. It's not something new. It's literally, the craziest thing to me is that it always happens the same way. People will make up a million reasons why this time Bitcoin is not going to enter a massive bull run after it's halving. They'll say this time is different. Actually, this halving's not going to pump and we're going to go crash. You see it, right? And if you live through it enough and if you're able to learn from stuff, it becomes, I almost don't even want to talk about it because like, it's not going to change so many people. Like people aren't going to change their mind. If people are afraid and they want that, like if that emotion takes a hold of them, there's no amount of rationale. There's no amount of information and rationality that will change some of those people. It's up to you to change your mind if you're like a victim of your emotion. Whales continue buying, and as we see, a lot of selling pressure from retails, not necessarily whales. Why is that? Well, maybe answer that for yourself, right? Greedy market makers looking to wipe $50,000 long. Either way, 54 will get destroyed, and the shorts will get destroyed. But yeah, I think we haven't even touched. If we go to this chart. I am curious, did we even go down to 50,000 yet? So this right here, so this is 50,000. Let me actually just put it on the chart. Right about here is 50,000. So no, we have not come down to $50,000 yet. Maybe I'll just keep this on just so we can see. Put it right at 50,000 US dollars. And if we come down there, we'll see if there's a bounce or anything, right? There was a lot of rejections initially back here, 12th, 13th, and 14th of February. And then we busted above it. We haven't even come back to test the end. People are already so bearish. Guys, this is the opposite of bearish. I wish I could say that 100 times. I want to make a video for 10 minutes straight. And I just repeat, this is the opposite of bearish over and over. And I think it would be more valuable than many things that that are happening in the crypto space right now. And get signed up to Femex below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. Without further ado, that's it for me.